Not only has he basically implicated himself in murders, he also has implicated Lil Boosie in murders, bro.
The internet went wild when Pooh Shiesty dropped a caption on Instagram claiming that Boosie Badazz has more bodies than me. And in street rap, bodies isn't about likes or followers, it's murder. The post instantly blew up, sending fans into a frenzy and putting Boosie on alert. This wasn't just online flexing. This was a direct hit to a man who had already survived a federal gun case and walked free in January 2026. Boosie responded fast, hopping on Instagram Live to spin the narrative, claiming the bodies were all about parties and women, not kill counts. The internet erupted, memes, laughing emojis, and heated debates flooded the comment sections. But beneath the jokes, the stakes were very real. Shiesty was still in federal supervision, under watch, with no statute of limitations on murder. His post, written while still serving time, could be used by law enforcement as evidence or a roadmap. This wasn't just a clash of words, it was a collision of street credibility, federal oversight, and social media recklessness. Boosie's quick pivot turned a potentially dangerous situation into viral entertainment, but it also exposed the high-wire act every street rapper walks: perform the persona, feed the algorithm, and survive scrutiny from the feds and the streets alike. In 2026, an Instagram caption became the battleground for reputation, legacy, and survival. And one man's joke might have saved another man's freedom, at least for now. After that Instagram post dropped, social media didn't just react, it exploded. Fans, bloggers, and hip-hop accounts immediately lit up, dissecting every word, timestamp, and emoji. To casual viewers, it might have looked like another internet beef. But anyone familiar with Memphis drill or Baton Rouge rap knew this was far deeper than a caption. In this world, bodies isn't metaphorical. It's street-level currency, a ledger of respect, fear, and survival. Boosie Badazz, already walking on the tightrope of his own legendary street reputation, instantly caught wind of the post. His history alone made the words dangerous. In January 2026, he had just walked out of a federal gun case with no prison time, a narrow escape after years of legal battles that had placed him at the center of the Baton Rouge underworld. Any public mention linking him to bodies, even indirectly, could reignite scrutiny from law enforcement and the streets alike. Pooh Shiesty's caption referenced Lil Boosie as having more bodies than him, a direct nod to murder counts in street code. The post didn't just land, it detonated. For over a week, it circulated across Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, racking up millions of views. Comment sections became a mix of alarm, memes, and disbelief. Fans argued, laughed, and speculated about what the post actually meant. Some joked about parties and women, others feared that real legal consequences could follow. What many didn't realize was that Shiesty wasn't free. He was still under federal supervision in a halfway house in Dallas, with a projected release date of April 11, 2026. Every move he made was being watched, every post potentially logged by federal agents. By casually referencing bodies, Shiesty inadvertently put himself and, by name, Boosie, under a magnifying glass. Big Homie.cc, a respected legal analyst, even warned, "You just told on yourself, gang." This post is exactly the kind of thing that ends up in a federal file. The legal context is complex but crucial. Boosie had already gone through a federal trial for murder in 2012 and walked free. That means double jeopardy prevents him from being retried for that specific case, making Shiesty's post unlikely to directly incriminate him. But the street perception was another matter. To fans, rappers, and online commentators, the caption was a revelation, and in Memphis and Baton Rouge, that kind of claim carries weight. Reputation is power, and in this game, you can't separate internet clout from street credibility. Boosie's response was swift. He went live on Instagram, addressing the caption with humor and strategic redirection. "I used to see Shy at my party. He gave me flowers for the body count," he said, twisting the violent reading into a playful joke about women and parties. The internet exploded. Memes were made, reactions flooded in, and for a moment, the entire dangerous conversation became entertainment. Fans called it the quickest save in hip-hop history, while others questioned whether Boosie was simply covering a more serious issue. The genius of Boosie's move wasn't just humor, it was damage control. In an era when courts routinely admit lyrics, social media posts, and other personal statements as evidence, turning a potentially self-incriminating moment into comedy is one of the few ways to survive public scrutiny without escalating legal risk. In fact, over 500 U.S. court cases have seen rap lyrics or social media content admitted as evidence for motive, intent, or gang membership. An Instagram caption typed in the present tense under federal supervision carries real weight. But Boosie managed to pivot, redirecting the narrative and making the situation absurd enough for the internet to accept it. Meanwhile, the history behind these men added layers to the story. Shiesty, born Lantrell Donald Williams Jr., grew up in Memphis's Cane Creek apartments, surrounded by the street culture that birthed his style. His nickname, Shiesty, literally means sneaky, unpredictable, not to be played. Signed by Gucci Mane to 1017 Records in 2020, he quickly rose to prominence, collaborating with Lil Durk and hitting platinum records. But his trajectory also included serious legal issues, shootings across Memphis, Florida, and Miami, which led to a federal conspiracy conviction in 2022. He served time at USP Cannon and was released to a Dallas halfway house. The street code, the media, and the law intersected dramatically with this Instagram post. Shiesty's caption pulled Boosie's legendary legal history back into the conversation, reigniting debates about street credibility, performance, and survival. Fans who knew Boosie's 2012 murder trial understood the gravity. Prosecutors had argued that Boosie orchestrated a killing and used music tracks as evidence. The jury acquitted him in under an hour. But the mythology of his alleged underworld influence never fully dissipated, and Shiesty's post threatened to revive it in real time. Social media amplified everything. Fans dissected the caption, speculated on its meaning, and debated whether it constituted snitching. The combination of humor, danger, and viral engagement turned the entire saga into a live spectacle. Boosie's live explanation, reframing bodies as party-related rather than violent, was enough to redirect the conversation, showing his mastery of narrative control in the digital age. Yet the tension remained. Shiesty, still under federal supervision, had dropped a bomb without fully considering the consequences. Boosie, experienced and savvy, had to react quickly to prevent escalation. The dynamic between them, one a seasoned veteran, the other a rising star freshly out of federal custody, made the situation volatile, unpredictable, and fascinating to fans worldwide. By March 2026, the story had evolved into a cautionary tale about street personas, legal realities, and social media strategy. The lesson was clear: in hip-hop's high-stakes world, every post, caption, and lyric can carry real-life consequences. What appears as flexing online can be scrutinized by fans, rivals, and even federal authorities. For Boosie, Shiesty, and millions of viewers watching from home, the Instagram caption was more than content. It was a trigger that revealed the delicate balance between street credibility, internet virality, and survival. And even though the captions and memes eventually slowed, the implications lingered. The narrative had exposed not only Shiesty's recklessness, but also Boosie's ability to pivot under pressure, using humor, charisma, and cultural knowledge to protect both reputation and freedom. It became a lesson in the modern rap world. You can survive the feds, survive the streets, and survive the internet, but only if you understand how all three intersect in the age of viral content. Even after the initial uproar from Pooh Shiesty's Instagram caption, the ripples were far from over. By March 2026, social media feeds were still ablaze. Memes, reaction videos, and debates about bodies dominated timelines. But underneath the humor, serious conversations were happening, not just among fans, but among insiders, street figures, and even law enforcement. Shiesty's post had done something that no one could ignore. It pulled Boosie's legacy back into the spotlight. For years, Boosie had carefully curated his image as a street legend who had survived legal battles, murder trials, and federal scrutiny. That 2012 Baton Rouge case had cemented him as a figure who could walk out of even the most dangerous situations unscathed. But now, with his name publicly linked again to murder counts, whether jokingly or not, his carefully maintained reputation faced a new test. Fans dissected every nuance of his Instagram Live response. Boosie had reframed bodies as party encounters, women, and the playful side of street life, using humor to defuse tension. But the people who understood Memphis drill and Baton Rouge rap knew that the double meaning would never fully disappear. In street code, credibility isn't just about surviving. It's about appearing untouchable, unflinching, and untarnished. And Shiesty's post, intentional or not, threatened to crack that image. Meanwhile, the legal implications were quietly being monitored. Shiesty remained in federal supervision at a halfway house in Dallas, and the clock on his April 11, 2026, release was a constant reminder of authority watching his every move. Any post suggesting real-life involvement in violent acts could be referenced in ongoing investigations. BigHomie.cc, a respected commentator on street legal intersections, warned, a federal agent, a detective, or even a curious prosecutor sees that post and starts connecting dots. You just gave them a roadmap. The irony was stark. Shiesty, trying to maintain relevance and hype, had reignited a conversation that could have jeopardized his freedom, while Boosie, experienced in navigating both legal and street hazards, turned the tension into comedy and viral content. The contrast highlighted a harsh reality in hip-hop culture. The very persona that drives fame and clout also exposes artists to risk, sometimes life-altering risk. The comment sections on social media reflected this tension. Some fans laughed, calling it the fastest pivot in hip-hop history, while others debated whether Boosie's response truly neutralized the threat. Memes were everywhere. Crying laughing emojis, references to the body count, and gifs of Shiesty in a federal halfway house circulated across platforms. Yet, beneath the entertainment, every post was scrutinized by those who understood the weight of such claims. Shiesty's background added context to why this Instagram caption hit so hard. Born Lantrell Donald Williams Jr., he had grown up in Memphis's Cane Creek apartments, immersed in a street environment that shaped both his persona and his music. His legal history was extensive. Shootings in Memphis, Florida, and Miami had resulted in a federal conspiracy conviction, leading to his incarceration at USP Cannon in Pennsylvania. His projected April 2026 release was still under federal monitoring, meaning any public statement carried weight beyond social media clout. Boosie's experience offered a stark contrast. His 2012 murder trial, where prosecutors tried to use his music as evidence, had ended in a complete acquittal. But the mythology around him, surviving multiple allegations, controlling influence in Baton Rouge, and navigating high-stakes legal battles, had created a reputation that Shiesty's post threatened to exploit. The tension between mentorship, legacy, and public perception became the focal point of the saga. Fans and commentators dissected Boosie's Instagram Live explanation. By reframing bodies as women and parties, he successfully deflected immediate scrutiny. But anyone familiar with federal surveillance and rap's legal history knew that the post wasn't harmless. The federal system has repeatedly used rap lyrics, social media posts, and other personal statements as evidence. Over 500 U.S. court cases document violent rap being treated as confessions. The line between persona and evidence is perilously thin. Even beyond the law, the social dynamics were complex. Shiesty had inadvertently challenged Boosie's role as mentor and street legend. For years, Boosie had guided Shiesty, offering insight, warning him of legal pitfalls, and helping him navigate the post-prison transition. Yet, the Instagram caption flipped the dynamic overnight. Suddenly, the young rapper's recklessness demanded damage control from his elder. The incident became a vivid illustration of how mentorship, street credibility, and digital culture collide in modern hip-hop. The memification of the event didn't lessen its seriousness. While the internet laughed, Law enforcement and insiders could read between the lines. The post, typed from a monitored federal device, referenced real-life street metrics tied directly to murder counts, ongoing investigations, and historical rivalries. The comedy, memes, and Instagram live pivot only worked because Boosie understood how to manipulate perception. He didn't deny Shiesty's statement outright. He reframed it in a way that preserved credibility while avoiding legal escalation. Meanwhile, Shiesty's release countdown loomed. Every day under federal supervision reminded him of the stakes. His caption was a gamble. It kept him relevant, drove social engagement, and maintained his persona, but it also risked scrutiny from authorities who track online activity closely. The tension between digital performance and legal consequence exemplified the precarious position of modern street rappers. Fame, clout, and relevance come at the cost of constant observation, both online and offline. The broader cultural context cannot be ignored. Memphis drill, Baton Rouge rap, and Southern trap are genres where street reputation, violent imagery, and real-life experience intersect with music. In these worlds, boasting about bodies carries meaning that outsiders may miss. To fans, Shiesty's caption was a flex. To law enforcement, it could be a breadcrumb trail. For Boosie, it was a test of instinct, experience, and strategic communication. By March 2026, the story had grown into more than just an Instagram caption. It was a case study in mentorship, risk management, and the dangerous interplay between persona, legacy, and social media. Boosie's live pivot was a masterclass in controlling a narrative, turning potential peril into viral content while reminding the culture why his name carries weight. The story also illustrated the reality for younger artists. Fame and street credibility can be both currency and liability, often simultaneously. In the weeks following, analysts, fans, and commentators continued to debate the post. Did Shiesty jeopardize himself or Boosie? Was Boosie's response enough to neutralize potential consequences? The questions persisted, but one truth remained. In hip-hop, especially in the world of Memphis drill and Baton Rouge ratchet rap, the line between performance, reality, and law enforcement. Boosie's Instagram live pivot had saved the immediate moment, turning a potential legal and reputational nightmare into a viral laugh. But the incident illuminated deeper truths. Street rap thrives on exaggeration and hyperbolic storytelling, a world where bodies can mean murder, sexual conquests, or both. The stakes are higher than ever when federal supervision intersects with digital performance. Every like, share, and screenshot now carried a weight that could ripple into courtrooms, investigations, and public perception. Shiesty remained under federal monitoring in Dallas, with his projected April 11, 2026, release looming. Each day, his behavior was observed: phone usage, posts, visitors, and even conversations. His caption, intended to flex and maintain relevance, had created a delicate balance. On one hand, it kept him in the hip-hop conversation, trending across platforms, discussed on podcasts, and dissected by analysts. On the other, it risked being interpreted by law enforcement as a literal admission, demonstrating how even a playful post could transform into a legal vulnerability. The mentorship dynamic between Boosie and Shiesty had been redefined overnight. For years, Boosie had acted as a guiding force, warning Shiesty about pitfalls and sharing insight from his own legal battles. But the Instagram incident forced Boosie to act not just as a mentor, but as a strategist, using humor to navigate potential consequences while maintaining both their reputations. Observers noted that this episode highlighted the pressures placed on senior figures in rap culture, responsible for protecting younger artists' legacies, while simultaneously managing their own exposure. Meanwhile, fans and insiders continued debating the implications. Could a social media post from a halfway house threaten someone's freedom? Technically, yes. Shiesty had already pleaded guilty to federal conspiracy to possess firearms in furtherance of crimes of violence. Any public statement referencing violent acts, whether joking or metaphorical, could have been scrutinized. The public, largely entertained by the memes and jokes, often missed this nuance. But legal analysts and industry insiders understood the severity. In rap courts, over 500 documented cases have treated lyrics, social media posts, and statements as evidence, a trend that disproportionately affects Black artists. Boosie's prior history gave him insight that Shiesty didn't fully possess. The 2012 Baton Rouge murder trial, where his own music was used against him, had set a precedent. He knew the system could misconstrue artistic expression, and his rapid reframing of the situation via Instagram Live demonstrated that experience. Turning potential incrimination into humor allowed him to protect himself while shielding Shiesty from immediate backlash. The meme culture of 2026 became a tool for damage control, a bridge between street authenticity and survival. Yet the irony persisted. The same culture that elevates authenticity demands proof of toughness, often at the risk of freedom. Shiesty, just released from federal custody, had to maintain relevance for his career, satisfy fans hungry for content, and navigate legal oversight, all while performing the very persona that had almost endangered him. Boosie, seasoned and legally battle-tested, demonstrated how survival in this ecosystem requires equal parts savvy, charisma, and instinct. In the aftermath, the narrative surrounding the post evolved. What initially seemed like a reckless move became a case study in modern hip-hop dynamics. Social media amplified risk and opportunity simultaneously. Shiesty's post showed the peril of raw authenticity in the digital age. Boosie's response illustrated the art of perception management, demonstrating why experience often trumps talent in survival. By April 2026, Shiesty's full release approached. Fans speculated whether he would maintain his persona, tone it down, or double down. The caption, now immortalized in screenshots and memes, had already cemented its place in hip-hop history. Analysts began referencing the incident in broader conversations about how street rappers navigate fame, legal scrutiny, and online culture. It became clear that what might seem like trivial bravado on Instagram could ripple into courtrooms, press cycles, and even the legacy of mentorship. The incident also reignited debates about accountability and the responsibility of older artists. Boosie's handling of the situation offered a blueprint: intervene early, pivot with humor, and maintain narrative control. Shiesty's decision, though risky, highlighted the pressure on young artists to perform authenticity, often without fully grasping legal implications. In a culture where visibility equals currency, missteps carry consequences beyond social media clout. Beyond legal and cultural implications, the episode underscored the emotional stakes. Both artists navigate environments where trust, loyalty, and reputation are constantly tested. Boosie's quick thinking prevented escalation, but Shiesty's post reminded everyone of the fragility of status, the cost of digital performance, and the thin line between entertainment and evidence. The story became a cautionary tale for an entire generation of rappers. Every post, caption, and lyric is potentially a legal document, a cultural statement, and a marker of street credibility, all at once. As of April 2026, the situation had settled into a tense equilibrium. Shiesty prepared for life outside the halfway house, aware that every move would be scrutinized. Boosie continued his mentorship, offering guidance drawn from decades of navigating the same pressures. The internet, having consumed every clip,